3 wins away from completing a treble. And I know it's a conversation that you've really kind of stepped back away from in recent times, but surely now, with being so close, you must be believing in this treble now.
Listen, we've got the league to wrap up on Sunday. We've got a derby against Man United in the FA Cup, and we've got Inter Milan away in Istanbul. We've got a fantastic chance. We've just got to get it done. You know, we had Wigan a few years ago in the FA Cup final, and everyone said you're going to win the FA Cup, and we didn't. So you've got to be there. You've got to arrive at the right time, and you've got to be on it at the right time. You can't let your mind go. And I think derby games are derby games. The atmosphere is going to be electric. It's Man City, Man United at Wembley, and then Inter Milan. You know, that's the stake night for a lot of people. So we just got to make sure we get the job done now. It's all right talking the talk. Yeah, we're in a fantastic position, but we've won nothing yet. So let's just go out there and do what we need to do. You know what I mean? The Champions League for me now, I can dream about it because I can nearly touch it. But I could dream about it in Porto. And we got beat to a poor Chelsea side in Porto, but full credit to him. We wasn't ready then, and we bottled it. So we just need to make sure we don't bottle it. And the way we're playing at the minute, if Pep Guardiola keeps it simple, doesn't overthink it, keeps doing what he's doing, we've got a fantastic chance to.
You certainly do. And I think for me, I'm a bit like yourself. I feel like it's not your favourite in each game. Your favourites to win the league now by far, 99% certainty. Your favourites in both finals. But the probability of winning all 3 is the difference, because that's a different multiplier altogether. But as a United fan, the FA Cup final now, and I haven't really spoke much about it up until now, and it feels just around the corner. It's a game that I'm excited about, because the prospect of beating you, firstly, to win 2 trophies in a season, hopefully cement next to Champions League football, would be a brilliant year for us in isolation. It then could do what we did to Liverpool in the 80s and stop a treble, or stop the treble from happening, which I think would make it an even bigger win for us. As much as I still believe you could go on and win the Champions League, and your Premier League and Champions League champions is amazing, stopping you from doing a treble is huge. However, getting beaten by you in your run in one of the most important games of that run to winning a treble, it's just insult to injury from a pure rival perspective, from a pure tribalistic point of view. So I'm like, there's half of me that is buzzing about that final. There's another part of me, Steve, which is just absolutely cacking my pants. And I'd rather, guys, I'd love to take a little pill right now and go asleep and wake up the day after and just check the results. I'm that nervous about it for so many reasons. But I think you're right. This could go down as one of the most electric FA Cup finals in the history of football. If people are sort of bored of the football now, feel like the season's over, wait to that final. It's going to be, I've heard a lot of rumors about like the way fans are feeling on the way down. There could be a lot of trouble. Emotions are high. There's a lot of stuff kind of going on surrounding that game. And it's certainly, as you say, going to be emotional.
No, it is. Listen, there will be trouble, 1,000,000%. 2011, there was trouble. The police got to get it under control. I think they've advised United to go down the M6, Man City to go down the M1. They have red and blue service stations because it's dangerous. Imagine me pulling up in a Man United service station and try and go for a piss. How do you think that's going to end?
You're in big trouble, yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's serious. And people look down on the Manchester derby and think, oh, it's not this, it's not that. But, you know yourself, it's ruthless and it's a final. So, yeah, it could. We just got to keep doing what we're doing. I just don't want Pep. I think he'll change the goalie. I think Ederson won't play. Ortega will play. He might tweak it a little bit. I don't know with the Champions League final the week after, but I hope he just goes full strength and tries to get the job done. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I can't lie. I'm excited right now. Football, it's just, when I was outside Arsenal, I mentioned the shark and that. That was a little psychological warfare with me. But look what happened to him. That people was on this show when we first set this show up. They were calling me every name under the sun. You're this, we're top of the league, we'll see, we're 8 points clear, it's 1 horse race, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And now, all of a sudden, Sky Sports the other day said Manchester City were chased down hard by Arsenal. Arsenal never chased us down. They were leading. We chased them down. But this narrative that Arsenal were the plucky underdogs and Manchester City the big bad wolf, No. They was in a fantastic position. They were 8 points clear, and they dropped 12 points in the title running. So you can't win a title doing that, Terry.
Oh, you certainly can't. And, as I messaged you earlier today asking you, kind of, what we're going to talk about today. And you sort of mentioned sort of Arsenal bottling it. Do you feel like City's pressure, now that you look back and it's pretty much done, accumulate, ending with that Brighton game last weekend, the team by themselves who got smashed by Newcastle last night, a very good team, but a beatable team for top sides. Do you feel like the pressure of Man City is what broke Arsenal in the end?
Yeah, 100%. The fans, we broke them because we started with the shark analogies. We were great whites everywhere. We were on them like fuck, saying, we'll see. And because we were so relaxed and saying, you'll see what's coming, they were frightened of it. Then you had Liverpool fans who were jumping on it, going, listen, when Man City get after you, it's going to be hard. And so that didn't help. And then the players, every time we played them, we bullied them. We went to the Emirates, won 3-1. Couldn't live with us. Went to the Etihad, won 4-1. Couldn't live with us. That's not the side of champions. In the Etihad, it was a whimper. They were getting bullied all over the park. The fans were leaving 60 minutes. And then that weekend, when they got beat off Brighton, don't forget, they were relying on Sean Dyche to save their season. Yeah, that is how low they got to. Sean Dyche is going to beat you, and we're going to do this. And while they were concentrating on Sean Dyche, Brighton turned up and the Seagulls shat all over him. And they had the biggest fire alarm in Premier League history. And there was no fucker there at the end to see him do anything. So considering they were proud of the team, let's clap our young players off on our manager. That was embarrassing, that Terry, at the end, walking out the ground like that and leaving them there. They couldn't believe in the team that much. They were at home as well, so it's not like you had to get off and drive miles.
Why do you think so many fans walked out at that moment?
Because their arses fell out. Their asses fell out and they couldn't handle it. They've been on a roller coaster. They've been so excited, rightly so, and they wasn't humble along the way. They were giving it people like me who've seen these title runnings for the last 5-6 years, and then now they got in the mix of a title running. They didn't have the bottle for it. They didn't have the minerals for it, and at the end, they couldn't deal with what they were about to see on the pitch. So they all fucked off for a kebab and went to bed.
I mean, there's been a lot of fallout since. You must have seen the stuff from Robbie about, we're beneath, the Carabao Cup's beneath us. City have made it a farmers league, therefore, no one can really compete with them. So is it really failure to not beat them to this title? But what's your reaction to that? Do you feel that's sort of, it's not every Arsenal fan. Lots of Arsenal fans on the terrace have been like, listen, none of that nonsense. We should have won the league from being 8 points clear and we let it up. What do you make of Arsenal fans kind of playing down their capitulation at the end?
Well, if it was me, I would have come out and said, you know what, we got caught. We had a great season. We didn't just quite have enough in the tank near the end of the season to get the job done. But at the beginning of the season, if you'd asked any Arsenal fan we were going to go for a title, then they'd have thought you was deluded. So if you look at the season, I'd have said, look, we've had a fantastic season. We've got a young side, an exciting manager, and we fell short. But we're going to regroup. We're going to make some additions in the summer and we're going to try again next year. That is all he had to say, and people would have respected it. But all this nonsense about, it's a farmers league. And it was only a farmers league when Arsenal were top for 250 days. It can't be a farmers league when Man City are top for 15 days and win the league. You know what I mean? That's Bayern Munich stats, 250 days at the top of the league. It's Bayern Munich stats. That's a farmers league. So I don't get it. And at the end of the day, when you're 8 points clear, you've got to play Man City twice. You lose twice. And then you drop 12 points in the last 10 games. That, my friend, is you bottling it and your arse has gone. That is it. You had 1 game a week. Yeah, 1 game a week. I'd never seen as many injuries for a team that had 1 game a week. And at the end of the day, Manchester City were on in every competition. We couldn't lose in the Premier League. We couldn't rest in the Champions League. And we caught them. The rhythm got them. And people laughed about this rhythm. Oh, no, what do you mean about the rhythm? Well, I spoke to Gail Clichy last week, and he's one of their invincibles. And he said, when you've got 1 game a week, it's so hard. You can overtrain, you can overthink, you can undertrain. He said it's so hard. He said what you need is games. You need to come in, recover, day of training, match. Recover, day of training, match. He said match fitness, match playing matches, doing things in games keeps you going. Arsenal, I'm sorry, all that nonsense about we went out of this cup and we went out of that cup didn't do him any good, man.
you know what? I think people. I remember last season, and Igal was saying it, but a lot of Arsenal fans on the shows were saying it too. We'll make the top 4 because we've got 1 game per week. You're playing. Everybody else is playing 2 towards the end of the season because of. Remember, they had quite a lot of games postponed, or handful of games postponed because of COVID situations. They had to start playing twice a week. And then I remember the narrative changing to actually, it's better to stay active and you've got more chance of making the top 4 if you play 2 games per week. And listen, people can be educated and fans can change their mind mid-season. But I've always been a believer that you can play too much games if you're not able to rotate your squad enough. But you need that rhythm. Equally, if you're sitting there with a player on your bench who's barely kicked a ball in 5 weeks because you're out of every cup competition, and then you need him because of an injury, he ain't going to be fresh. He's not going to be ready to go. So I think there's a balance. You know, if you're in every competition but you don't rotate your squad, you'll burn out. Pep Guardiola is a master, just like Fergie was before him, at rotating the squad. You know, there was that period back in the early part of this year where young Lewis was starting over Carl Walker week in, week out, maybe for about 3 or 4 weeks, saving Walker for what? This stage of the season, the business end of the season. So, yeah, I absolutely agree. The nonsense. Listen, I've praised Arsenal loads this year. We're going to get onto another Arsenal subject a little bit later. I think that they're going places. I think they're a brilliant looking team. They spend well this summer. They can become a phenomenal team, a consistent team. But going out of cup competitions, going out of tournaments, I have never seen people celebrate it like I saw people celebrate it this year. And it's not just Arsenal. Arsenal just took it to a new level this year. And maybe because they're a much bigger club than some of the other teams that have done it in the past, it kind of protrudes more and you see it. But maybe it's social media fans more than match-going fans, and you'll know that being one. But this notion of, I'm happy to go out of this tournament, I'm happy to go out of this one, we can focus on what we're doing. I was gutted watching the Sevilla Juve game last night. I was gutted. I was happy for West Ham, but I was gutted watching them go to a final. I was more gutted watching you go to a final, not even because of the treble, but because we let up against Sevilla and I wanted to still be in the tournament. I'm not sitting there thinking, I'm so glad we didn't have that game. We've got more chance of beating Bournemouth now. I wanted to be in that semi-final. And I think that I just want to see a little bit more honesty from fans. When you go out of a cup competition, just show you're annoyed. You can be annoyed at your team being knocked out of a tournament without it meaning you want your manager sacked. You're going to fly a plane over the stadium saying so-and-so out. I don't know where football fandom has gone to a point now where we kind of laugh at failure and pretend like it isn't a problem. It's very strange to me. I'm not too sure where it's come from. Maybe it's been an escalation over the years, but yeah, that's just all a nonsense to me. And the Arsenal have got a lot of regrouping to do this summer. I think they'll come back strong again next year, but this playing it down, and it ain't a Farmers League. We can't redefine what Farmers League means to suit anybody else's narrative. A Farmers League means you lose competitiveness once you go past your top 3 or 4 teams. This league is competitive down to the bottom 3.
Look at the last 10. Look at the last 10 games that I told them. The business end of the seasons when you get the craziest results. Brighton go and beat them there. Southampton were 3-1 up there. You know, you're seeing Bournemouth winning mad games. You know, Leeds. You know, all these things are happening. But at the end of the day, Terry, it's easy to use Manchester City as an excuse for the failures of your own club. That is it. They look at Manchester City and they want to pin this on them, pin that on them. At the end of the day, Manchester City are just doing it bigger and better than everyone in the league. So it's down to your chairman, your owners, and your players to step it up a level. We was off the pace this season, and we didn't look anywhere near a title contender. Pep Guardiola, the best manager in the world, changed it mid-season. He ditched the inverted fullbacks. He played centre-backs at fullback. He put John Stones in midfield like Mateus Sammer, running through midfield. He got rid of Cancelo, who was a bad egg. Yeah, and we found a way to make Erling Haaland even better than he was in the earlier season. It all kicked into gear. We're 22, 23 games undefeated. 12 or 13 straight wins. That is a machine going towards a title, not one that drops 12 points in the last game. So you can't blame Manchester City and call it a Farmers League because you dropped 12 points. Because that Farmers League, West Ham, you're calling them Farmers because they took points off you. Liverpool, when you were 2-0 up, they took points off you. 3-1 down to Southampton at home's a joke. And Brighton, when you was relying on David Moyes, when you was relying on Sean Dyche, the Seagulls turned up and ripped the title away from you. So they've only got themselves to blame. They can go on TV, AFTV, cry, whinge, moan, because we know deep down that it's hurting. But the way to deal with it is get back on the horse and say, look, we've had a great season. We're in the Champions League and we're going to go for it next season. You know, that's honest opinion.